Robert J. Wright and Aaron McCarty, and joining us for a visit is State Representative Alan Seabaugh. Mr. Alan, good to have you back again. How's everybody? How's the family? How's
John Bel?
If I talk to him, I'll let you know.
Okay, here's the deal. I had a little chat with Governor John Bel Edwards last week, and I pointed out to the governor, as his budget had passed the House by a rather substantial margin, I pointed out to the governor that on social media you had made the point that you felt, and correct me if I'm misrepresenting your thoughts or statements, but basically what you said was that the governor's budget, in your mind, could lead to the closing of LSU Med, specifically the medical school. Is that pretty much on the money?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The budget that he forced through, that he introduced into the House, and that ultimately passed with very few changes, was basically the budget for LSU Medical Center is $100 million a year. They cut it by $38 million.
Well, hang on just a second. Pardon me.
No way that it survives.
Pardon me just a second, because I pointed your statement out to the governor, and he responded thus.
It's pretty disingenuous for Representative Seabaugh to complain about cuts. When you have a record deficit and a constitutional obligation to balance the budget, you can only accomplish that through increasing revenue on the one hand or cutting costs on the other. And Alan doesn't want to be associated with either approach.
Well, see, that's one of those things. If you go back to things you learned in history, if you tell a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. He keeps talking about this record deficit. Let me just throw it this way. How can you have a deficit when you have $2 billion more than you did last year? We do not have a deficit. We do not have less money than we had last year when we fully funded TOPS, when we fully funded the medical school, when we fully funded higher education in K through 12.
But he'll say it's Medicaid expansion. That's the reason for the budget increase. Is that BS?
It's partly true, but whose fault is that? We fought Medicaid expansion. He's the one talking about how it was going to save us money, and it's costing us about $900 million this year. Nobody wants to talk about that. That was something that he did by executive order over the legislature's objection. So if we have a deficit, it's one that he created. But even with Medicaid expansion, we still have $2 billion more than we did last year. The DHH budget alone is so large, if you were to cut it by 3%, you could fully fund higher education, TOPS, medical schools, hospitals, and everything else that we're trying to fund. And if you tell me there's a government department that can't be cut by 3%, you're fooling yourself. The bottom line is this is completely self-created. We have no deficit. The only reason we have a deficit is because we have a crazy governor who wants to spend more than we have, so much more than we have that he's already imposed $2 billion of tax increases on the people of Louisiana in the last few months, and wants more, and is clamoring from the rooftop saying, we got to have more. The fact of the matter is we do not have a money shortage. We have a spending problem, and we're not spending it properly.
You sound really angry. Are other lawmakers feeling like you are? That's how I want them all to feel.
More and more every day, because what happened, we had a lot of freshmen, we had a lot of new people who came in and took the governor at his word. And every day that passes, they see that he's just not being honest. And I would love that interview you had. I mean, I could see his nose growing as you were playing that clip. He lies every time he opens his mouth when he's talking about the budget. None of this is true. We do not have a record deficit. We do not even have an average deficit. We have a surplus if you look at last year. We had $24 billion budget last year. It's $26 billion this year, $30.5 billion if you include capital outlay.
Alan, pardon me, but
considerably more than we had last year.
You just said that more and more lawmakers are starting to look at the situation the way you are, and yet the governor's budget passed the House 63-38. The numbers would imply otherwise.
Well, the 38 was a positive development. But
my point exactly. If 63 members of the House thought the governor's budget was legit and voted for it, you say, well, more and more are thinking like me, i.e. on the nay side. But Alan, is that really the case?
Yes. You said I thought the governor's budget was legit. I don't think 63 thought it was legit. 63 didn't want to finish the session without a budget. And the Senate had told us, because the special session is coming, which we're in right now, the budget was back on the table. He included House Bill 1, which is the state budget, in the call for the special session. The Senate told us point and blank, we are not going to vote for any budget other than the one submitted by the governor. So, because knowing if it comes out bad, we can just fix it in the special session. So that budget was forced through because legislators didn't want to go home and say we didn't pass a budget. The governor's allies wanted to pass that budget so they could say, see what's going to happen if we don't raise more taxes. That was not what anybody intended to be the state operating budget. It was what the governor wanted to be a shot across the bow of, look at all the stuff that's going to have to get cut if we don't raise more taxes. When, again, the bottom line is the budget as it passed the House fully funded everything. I don't think any state department took more than a 3 or 6% cut. And that wasn't even a cut from funding last year. That was a cut from their targeted growth, which means their increase was, their expansion was a little less than they wanted. We didn't cut anything. The budget as it passed the House was either fully funded or within 3 to 6% of every department. TOPS was funded, the hospitals were funded, the medical schools were funded, K through 12 was funded. It was all done. Got over to the Senate, they put it exactly back the way the governor introduced it, which is cutting things that people care about, like TOPS, like hospitals, like medical schools, like universities, things that people want to be funded. So he put it back that way as a scare tactic to try to get legislators to vote for more taxes.
Alan, we're about to hit
more people are figuring out.
About to hit our hard time here. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to be back in touch because I know you're passionate about it, and we are too.
I just want honesty. If people disagree, that's fine. But just tell the truth about what's going on. And that's the biggest problem that I have with this governor is he lies every time he opens his mouth.
Alan Seabaugh, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.